Hi everyone, welcome back to my channel. In this video, I wanted to share some of my scrapbook layouts that I made to a recent visit to Charleston, South Carolina. It is such a beautiful city and I had so much fun there and took so many amazing photographs, so I wanted to include those into my scrapbook. While we were there, we visited Rainbow Row, which may look familiar because this is the street of houses that are super colorful, and whenever you type in Charleston into Google, a lot of times this is the street that pops up. So I knew I wanted to do a layout based around this. What I ended up doing was cutting out buildings with pastel colored paper with my Cricut. So I basically just took rectangles and then cut out little windows and made it super simple, and I tried to make it look like the rows up here of the houses. And then I also had little die cuts of palm trees. Since you can see the palm trees up here, I added those. And then I added Charleston, South Carolina down below. And yes, I did misspell Charleston at first, and then I ended up fixing it. So you can kind of see a mistake, but that's okay with me. And on this layout, I used these super cute shape sprinkles from Doodlebug Designs. I love the pink colors and all the flowers and heart pieces. It just reminds me of my childhood for whatever reason. It's so much fun to use. And then I also used this die cut set from Sizzix. So I used the palm trees here. And then they had these little swirly patterns here that I also put on the buildings. And because the buildings were a little bit plain, I liked that it gave it a little bit of extra details. For this next layout, I did a layout about our stay at the Embassy Suites in Charleston. The Embassy Suites is located in their historic district, which was super cool. And I loved the inside of it too, because when you walk in, you kind of see this little pavilion type area with a fountain, and then I love the little columns and rows that you can look down at. And then the bedrooms were really cool because they were also very historic with the brick walls and all the pictures that they had hanging up. For this layout, I used this Majestic collection by Prima Marketing, and this has to be one of my favorite paper collections that I have gotten this year. I think it is so beautiful. Here's a few of the patterns that come in it. And essentially what I did was I cut out 2 by 2 inch squares and cut them in half, and then just alternated the patterns of each of them, and it made for such a beautiful background, I think. And this is also a great technique if you have double-sided paper like this, because it saves paper and also creates something really unique. Another famous landmark of Charleston is of course the Pineapple Fountain, which is right here. And this is located in the French Quarter. And so while we were walking down there, we saw a lot of French inspired restaurants and bakeries. So of course we had to stop and get a little eclair. And then we also got ice cream sandwiches, which were delicious. But this was such a fun day because it was the day that we left, the morning that we were leaving, and it was a little bit rainy. And normally, since this is a really popular tourist destination, it's normally really crowded. And the day that we were there, nobody ended up being there, so we were able to get a ton of pictures with nobody in view, which was really nice. If you're ever in Charleston, a place you definitely have to go check out is Fort Sumter, which is located in the harbor. This was the original place that the first shots of the Civil War took place on April 12th, 1861. And you can see from the photos of the walls of the fort, and they also have really cool artifacts that were of that time period, such as the original flag that was flying, which isn't this one. And so to get to the fort, you have to take a boat ride. So it passes right by the famous Charleston Bridge here. And it's just a really pretty cool historic area that you can go see. To create this layout, I used brick paper since the fort walls were made of brick, as well as this yellow pattern paper, and I used this in the collection of Hello Autumn. So you can see the brick paper here, as well as the yellow pattern paper that I used, which I thought was really pretty for this layout. You can see here I also have our tickets that we had on that day, and I just paper clipped them here because I wasn't sure where to put them. And then I also used star die cuts to cut out little stars right here, which I thought were super cool. The Magnolia Plantation and Gardens is another popular attraction to visit if you're ever in Charleston. It was a little bit of a drive, but totally worth it to go see it. You may tour the homes, walk through the flowering gardens, visit the petting zoo, or go on detailed guided tours. The land was owned by the Drayton family for multiple generations, and you can see a lot of the different landmarks that were found in the gardens. I thought the spider web was super detailed and cool, and they also have a lot of really beautiful bridges that you can cross, and I have more layouts of the Magnolia Gardens here, but just so you can see a little overview. We did end up doing the house tour, and unfortunately you can't take photos inside of it for whatever reason, but that was a super cool place to go tour as well. And our tour guide was super knowledgeable in everything about the family and all the artifacts and furniture that was found in there. And I left space to do some journaling, but I always save that for last just so I can make sure I know what I want to include and what I want to write about. This is another layout on the Magnolia Gardens. You can see a lot of the pictures of the beautiful flowers that we saw. We went in September, so a lot of the flowers weren't blooming. So if you had a chance to go, I think it'd be beautiful to go in the springtime or the summertime when a lot more flowers are in season, but it was still very beautiful while we were there. And I also included a ticket to one of the tours that we did. And they also had bamboo trees, which were super cool and interesting because I don't think I've ever seen those in person before. And for this layout, I used this paper pad from Paper Lane. I believe I got it at Joann's, but it has a lot of beautiful patterns with gold foiling on them. And I love the little oranges because whenever I'm down south, I always think of oranges for whatever reason. And this is the last layout I made of the Magnolia Garden tours. Here is sort of the petting zoo that we walked through. We didn't go see all the animals and everything, but we did get to see the horses and them being fed, and I love horses, so that was a lot of fun. Here's another really pretty bridge that we saw. They have really small ones and really long ones, so there's so many that you can go walk across and take pictures in front of. And here, I love the moss on the trees. I think it's so beautiful, and coming from up north, we don't have mossy trees. So whenever I see those when I'm down south, it is always so exciting. These stickers right here I got at the dollar store, and they're little cherry blossom stickers, I believe. And I was waiting to use these on a layout, and I thought this one would be perfect because of all the flowers that we saw in the gardens. And I also added this lovely sticker and this little fox. So it's a very simple layout, but very pretty, I think. And those were all of my Charleston layouts that I completed. I had so much fun making these, and I love that I can store all my memories from the trip in such a creative way. Let me know in the comments which one is your favorite, and thank you so much for watching.